I'm feeling inspired by this whole kind of breakdown, so I actually want to add some more melodic material from a sample-based WAV file. So one thing I might do right away is just duplicate this scene. I don't want to kind of have to worry about going back later and, you know, redoing something if I add on too much. So that's something you should definitely think about getting in the habit of doing, is you're not going to run out of scenes and sections inside of your song. So better safe than sorry to kind of, before you go on like this big creative tangent and you've added too much. All right, so I've created a new group called Flute because I found this great royalty-free flute sample. Remember, I can come into my area here and find it. One thing I want to point out is, check this out. So all those changes we did to that conga pattern are saved. Every single time I time stretched, truncated, normalized, reversed, all that stuff is actually stored, which can be really helpful. But you just got to be aware of it because it can really clutter up your hard drive as well. So let's bring in this flute sample here, just to a blank sound, and let's hear what it sounds like. Turn down polyphony right away. Always smart to do. All right, so one thing I like to do is kind of use this start like dropping the needle on the turntable. That's too busy. This sounds good. You know, I'll just kind of work with this. What you do when you're slicing, sometimes it just makes sense to kind of only come in and just grab a little section, right? And work with it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and normalize this right away. Again, this will help us see what we're doing, but also kind of really illustrate and bring up to the level of my other instruments. And now we'll come to slice. So the first thing you see with slice is this manual mode. And so it's blinking. So as I hit through, I can create my own slices. Okay. So I'm not a big fan of that, honestly, because I don't really know where my slices should be yet. But a good thing is, anytime you do a slice, you can always come in and edit the slice. So maybe if you meant to hit it earlier, you know, I can kind of adjust every single slice point and kind of delete it, remove it, whatever I need to do, and tweak it from there. So let's go ahead and, instead of doing the manual mode, let's go ahead and maybe make split. So I could split it evenly among 16 pads, regardless. Equal time division. But then you're not really hitting the transients, and it's kind of, you might start in the middle of a breath or something, who knows. So what I like to use is detect mode, because this is actually just going to kind of, with the sensitivity knob, find all the transients and kind of get the most opportune slices that you can do, okay? You know, maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. We never know. So one thing you need to know is that these slices don't exist anywhere except this sampling page now. As soon as I come out of sampling, it's just going to play that entire sample. So you actually have to apply these slices to something, and there's two places to apply them to. Once I hit apply, you can either apply them to a sound or a group. So let's go ahead and apply them to this sound first, and you can see what happens. So immediately, it creates a pattern with it. So for instance, it took the length of that and then just took every slice by the determined length of the slice and puts it on a pattern. Not exactly how I want to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that pattern right away. But let's just create a new pattern and start trying to come up with something. Now, first thing you're going to note is you need to be in keyboard mode. And the problem with this is that the keyboard, typically this comes down, so sometimes your keyboard remembers where your slices were, which can be a problem because I was writing in D minor before. So you need to come all the way down to -C-2. And make sure you're in chromatic if you're going to kind of play your slices back. Now, problem again is that as soon as I've applied that sound again, it forgets the voice settings for some reason. Real annoying, if you ask me. So set that to default again, and now we're finally actually able to, using keyboard mode, come up with some different ideas. Kind of interesting, kind of what I'm going for, but now there's a problem here. One of those slices was really loud. This one, whatever that was. So I'm in keyboard mode. This is basically all existing on one sound and that's it. And so that can be a real problem. Let's go ahead and actually go into pad mode. I've sliced something up earlier. Okay, so I kind of just did the same exact thing. And this time, I'm going to take this one and apply it to a brand new group. Now what this is going to do, once I hit OK, is put all the slices on different sounds. Now I have a whole sampler available for each individual sound. And more importantly, I can go ahead and adjust the mixer settings if something's too loud, or maybe add an effect to a single slice, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and mute that previous group. Now what are we doing here? Real problem again. Everything is playing on top of each other. So what I can do is go into pad mode and create a choke group. First I'm going to select all the pads at the same time. So now if I apply to one pad and put in a choke group, now every single pad is in choke group 1, meaning when I play the next one, doesn't matter how long it is, it deletes the next, or it basically cuts off the next one and re-triggers. Okay? So let's go ahead and clear that out and just try a new pattern. And just keep riffing. Okay. And I kind of like that one. So what I'm going to do is now be able to come into the mixer and you can see everything is on its own track. Like this one's a little loud. And this one is so short, number 7 here. Maybe I want to go in and actually add a delay to that one, right? So we can come in and just like have that one ring out with a delay. That works. And keep going from there. So really, I think applying to a group is the more powerful option. Gives you a little more flexible control. Won't give you as many slices. In fact, you only have 16 slices to work with, but I'm sure you can make do and make a different slice should you need to.